Welcome to our live tonight. So, what we are talking about is really how to bring in the new year. You know, most people have lots of resolutions, lots of goals, lots of things that they want to achieve for the new year. And we want to tell you, oh, wow, too bad. Okay, San Diego is cold and rainy. Okay, that has a new wave. Like we have a new definition of cold, by the way. Anyway, so everyone always has goals and resolutions. And so whenever it's a new beginning, whether that be the Jewish New Year or the secular, you know, whatever new piece of the calendar you're going into, I think it's always really natural for us to want to create new goals and access a different part of ourselves. Is that, you think that's true?
I think people are always looking for
At
time.
least that's how I look at it.
I don't know if I even look at it that way, but I think it's important.
Okay, well,
So
for those of us who
practically
do look at it,
practically
like
speaking, what we're interested in is trying to figure out when you think about creating your next step as a couple, how do you like leverage the time to figure out what you're supposed to do? Is there such an idea as actually like making goals? People make goals with their money. People make goals with their fitness
and their
but like,
time.
right. But I think that one of the biggest challenges that people have is this idea that, you know, marriage is something that you can't really measure how well it's going, if that makes sense.
That's true because there's not like the next.
There's not like the next like thing to check off to see like how it's going.
Right. So when you're in your health, it's like, okay, can you lift more weight? Or if are you making more money this month than last month? Or, you know, with your kids, are they getting to those goals? Like, are they learning to read? Are they learning their multiplication tables?
But
I
marriage
think those
is
are very
like, did we
measurable.
manage not to kill ourselves or each other?
And marriage is a little bit, exactly, marriage is just a little bit more nuanced and not so concrete in terms of what kind of goals should we set. So that's kind of what we are here to talk about, to create that vision for 2021 for your marriage, for your relationship. And this could go for obviously a marriage, but it could go for any familial relationship, I would say.
Right. So,
but marriage, I would say, would be the core relationship that you have. So that's the one that we're going to focus on.
here's the big like secret that nobody talks about.
Okay.
Which is that
I'm kind of scared about this.
you know what's interesting is I completely forgot what I was going to say. I think the idea. Oh, so yeah. Okay. This is the
you
hard
got
part.
it. It came
This is the
back.
hard part.
It was
This
a
is really the hard part.
miraculous reawakening.
So I think the idea is very often that we don't know what we want. I think that it's always easy to know what you don't want. It's always easy to complain about what the other person did wrong. But I think that if you would ask someone, so like, what do you actually want? Rarely they have any idea, and or they don't know how to tell you. So we have the privilege. I have the privilege also of speaking with quite a few people about what they want their marriage to look like. And again, if you ask, what does your husband do wrong? What does your wife do wrong? No problem. They'll be able to talk about it ad nauseum. And if only the spouse would change and all these kinds of things. But the interesting thing is whenever you switch it over and you ask, so like, what do you want? Very rarely anyone has any idea. They don't know how to articulate it. And again,
so I'm going to totally just stop you because I want to, so let's make this a live real thing so that people get actual value. Let's talk about it. What do you want? Like, we're gonna make a kind of like a working session here on this live with you guys, so that we get an idea.
Well, I just panicked.
And I'm totally gonna put you on the spot because why not? This guy gets out. He gets to ask all the questions all day. So I think we should, give him the opportunity to.
So I think we had a really we can be very candid. I think a lot of times when you have what I would like is for you to sort of help me help you during some of your like more difficult times. So instead of saying like, right, so
help me help you.
No, candidly speaking, I find myself under a tremendous amount of self-imposed pressure. Okay. And I think that what would be very helpful for us is for you to kind of help me. I should have prepared this so I would have like a nice document. But
when have you ever made a nice document? Just out of curiosity.
So when I'm stressed out, I want us to have kind of a safe place where I can sort of come for you to be,
When you're stressed. Okay.
right? And
So is that one of the goals? That's a
that would be
goal?
a goal. I think what we a goal
And
would be.
how, so, and cur- so how is it not right now? It's because,
So
or how could I be more? Because I feel like I am. So this is a great thing to do with your spouse, right? If you feel like you're already doing the thing that they want you to do, so maybe they could clarify for you what more can you do, or how else would they like it?
right. So that's a great question. So I think that a lot of times the way that we relate to each other as needing stress is when we have stress
Okay.
is dramatically it's not really within context. It's not really productive how we do it, and we don't really check to see if the other person has the bandwidth to handle what's coming, if that makes sense. So like what stress usually looks like for me is I'll come down the stairs, I'll just like either put my full hand into the chocolate chips, or I'll just like put the chocolate chips on my face, and then I'll start wandering around wondering if like the world is going to end, if we're going to get eaten by zombies, if we're going to freeze to death in the cold, we're going to burn to death in the heat. And you're just kind of like and then you oftentimes are also super stressed out, so then you start talking about all of the things that are stressing you out, because like my stress triggers your stress, and then after I feel a little bit relieved because I've relieved myself and eaten enough chocolate chips, which is not healthy to do per se. Then you send the message like, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed," and then I'm like, "Oh God, now I have to handle your overwhelm on top of my overwhelm." Does
Okay.
that make sense?
That does. But here's my question. So how do we fit something small like this? This is a specific instance.
This is a great instance.
How do we fit this into our vision, like, our vision for our marriage? How do we take this small instance to grow closer, to be able to give each other what we need, and also to use this not as just one instance, or obviously this I'm sure comes up, and for a lot of marriages I'm sure it comes up often, because things stress you out all the time. I mean, not you personally,
No,
but
I'm stressed out a lot.
things stress out couples all the time.
Right.
Whether it's kids or finances, or making time for each other, or making time for themselves. So this comes up about the idea of supporting each other in the way that the partner wants to be supported. That comes up. How does this fall into our vision? And then let's get back to the specific.
You're really good at this. So I think the first thing, what I was realizing, we always have like these safe words we like to use, like mango is always our go-to safe word for just about anything. But I think that if we would actually properly set context for when we need the other person just to hold us, I think that it would create a lot more safety, or a lot more ability to
What
open
does
up.
set context mean?
Basically, like if I would say mango,
Like preface?
yeah,
Preface it, like,
I'm just gonna say
hey.
I'm stressed out, and I just want you to tell me that things are gonna be okay.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking to myself, if I actually have to realize I'm like asking for you to tell me things are okay, it also means that I have to be more careful about self-management. Like if I'm going to ask you to be okay, I have to think to myself, like, why can't I just tell myself we're going to be okay? Also,
Right. And I guess the important thing for the spouses as well, for in this situation, is like, I think we know when we're both like we know when the other person is triggered. So if I'm in the kitchen and you're there and I'm noticing, oh my gosh, like he's like his hand is in all sorts of
Cookie
bags
dough.
of not crack. The
that,
crack.
that would help.
The crack
That
bag.
that would help so much. Does crack come in
snack-
a bag?
It should. I'm saying the snack bags, let's say, okay? So then I already know that you're in a state of distress.
So
So then
I
I
have
could
to
go out
signal-
of my way.
Right.
You don't have to really signal anything.
well, I
at
should
that
signal so I
point.
don't have to put my hand in the crack bag. So
No, yes, if you can, that would probably be something that's
Right.
like a self-soothing thing. But if I notice that you're in that space and I'm with you and you're not on the, you're not doing something else, then that could give me an opportunity to check in with you on an emotional level, to give you that emotional soothing that might be helpful for you.
Right.
And for me, I would say, and I think you know this as well, when I'm in a terrible mood and start like raging away, I'm in a horrible mood, and then you could like just be supportive of me and just be, because
What do
what
you-
I
what do you-
need,
yeah, what do you need when
what
that
I
happens?
need in that moment is just like, I'm sorry, it's really crappy right now. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. And like I'm sorry
So
that
you
it's
need
difficult.
compassion.
Compassion
Do
and
you
just
realize
I
when
don't
you're
really need
solutions?
physical solutions because I don't think any type of solution, I don't think it's like this immediate gratification solution. Most of these problems are, well, some problems can have immediate solutions, but most of the time it's just like this stress. Like, for example, we're moving right now. And so there's a lot of things going on with our family and logistics. And so if I'm stressed out, or like let's say it's to do with the kids, it's usually not going to be like a snap fix. But if I know that, oh, I'm here to support you, I love you, is there anything I can do? And the answer might just be no, you can't. But just me knowing that you're kind of around and are there for me, that's enough for me. And I think that would kind of alleviate that pressure and make us not snappy and like feel like we're a partner, feel like we're together in on it versus it's just my problem, my stress, my, like I have to cope.
When you're in a really bad mood, do you know you're in a bad mood, or do you feel like you're
I
only
know.
in
I
only
know
like you
I'm
think
in a
you're
horrible mood.
situationally upset, or do you just know that you like have this cloud of stress on you? Because I'll see, and then this is interesting, and I think if people would actually utilize this, I think it's a very effective strategy where if the spouse knows that they're in a dark place, that they actually acknowledge that I know I'm acting like in a dark place. I think that that's the whole thing is like for our relationship, setting more context is more important because if like you're in a bad mood, but I'm actually taking it seriously,
Yeah.
right? So then I think that it's going to result in me being like kind of thrown off versus if I just sort of know you're in your dark place, I can be like, okay, Julie's in a dark place, she'll just come out of it. I think that that's one of the major things that people get screwed up is that they actually take their spouse's bad moods as like a personal affront to them,
Right.
as opposed to just being in a bad mood, which people get into, or
And
stress
I mean,
moods.
you've been doing that a lot better, I would say, by the way.
What do you mean?
Is that like you're just like, oh, it's nothing to do with me. You
I'd be
take
able to
yourself,
disassociate myself from your bad moods.
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
No, it's very effective. It's very
And then
effective.
and the beauty about that is that it just doesn't escalate
Into a
because
fight.
it doesn't escalate into a fight between us because you realize it's
If
not
people would
about
actually do
you.
that, that would save about 90% of marriages, I think. That's like,
I think so.
yeah, we should probably just stop the live
Yeah.
at this point. So I think that that's, so again, Julie asked, so this idea of like actually articulating what you want. So I think something that would be very helpful to articulate is to, for us, is to realize like, to really make clear those bids when we just need to be held by the other. I'm stressed out. Can you just do this for me? Can you do me this favor? Right? So we'll say a word, like a safe word, like mango, right? When I'm feeling stressed out, I'll say mango, and then you'll just know, okay, I just need to be supportive of him. And then to find out if you're gonna like bring something else on, if I'm in a state of being stressed out, to know maybe that's not the best time to do it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So there's that shift all the times. We were talking to a dear people, wonderful people we work with today, about when one person's in a place of being stressed out, that's not when you want to talk to them, no matter what. And being able to have that clarity, that you know that person's going through the darkness to be able to not need to have the conversation at that point because it's never going to work.
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
You've been married long enough, you know that if you have to push yourself like on your spouse, it's not going to ever happen. So just give it up, right? And manage.
Right.
What else would you proactively make in our marriage?
So I think so. I think that that's really important. So I think that there's like several different buckets that you always want to be proactively making sure that those buckets are filled. So there has to be, I'm saying the bucket of like spending quality time together, I think is really important.
We don't do that as much as we should.
We don't. I'm saying I think it's COVID. I think it's also different times. But I mean, we actually got away with by ourselves for the first time in
That was
probably 2
legit.
years, a couple weeks ago, and that was I thought it was really nice, even though it wasn't exact only pleasure, but it was a way for us to get away. So making sure that those are implemented, and
Just to point out, by the way, about what's possible in your marriage, this was a huge victory for me because notice that we do not spend as much time as possible, but my wife actually like excused that, right? So it used to be that, and I get whose victory is that, yours or mine? That usually like in the past was like my fault that we didn't spend good time together, and now you're like excusing me and you're okay with it.
So that means
that means
we've grown over the
we've
past
grown.
year.
I think that, no, seriously, I think that that's a big.
Well, that's also a really important thing is to actually acknowledge yourself and each other for the things that do happen. I think that actually that's one of the major things that is so important is to be able to acknowledge on a daily, this has to happen on a daily basis. It's like find 3 reasons why you should brag about your spouse. So or just be grateful and thankful, like, thank you so much for taking out the trash. Thank, it
I
could be
did that. I
something.
took out the trash.
I know.
It's cold here in
Thank you.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
So no, I'm saying it could be a small thing or it could be a really big thing, but like, thank you so much for taking care of X, Y, and Z. Thank you for taking the kids to school, or thank you for, working so hard today.
You say
And
that.
regardless of what, finding ways to let your spouse know that you are actually paying attention and you really appreciate him or her.
Right.
and
Totally.
and that is something that's completely overlooked because we're so busy on our everyday lives, that a lot of times, we're so busy watching the kids or dealing with all the different aspects there are that we completely overlook that.
Totally. I think the other thing that's super important to consider is that you can build your relationship into whatever you want as long as you just have the foresight to actually accept that. I think that goes with business, that goes with friendship, that goes with just about anything else in your life is if you have to have the ability to hope. You have to have the ability to have that vision of what do you want to create. And so often I think that marriages tend to be reactionary. And if you're living as a reactionary relationship, so then the chances of you actually creating something that you want is very difficult. The interesting thing is when like you're dating, I think, like you have all these like visions of the future and hope for the future. But then when you get married, I mean, how fast afterwards does that like die and get crashed against the rocks? Like it
I
happens.
hope it wasn't
No, I'm
that
saying no,
that
I don't think so.
fast.
But I think that a lot of people like they're like, oh my gosh, like how do we get into this situation? And the realizing that the difference isn't necessarily that the circumstances changed; it's that we just sort of went into a reactionary mode. And we weren't proactively creating what we wanted to build. And that's the crazy thing also. A lot of times people think, oh, I'll just marry someone else and then all my problems will go away. And it's like, probably not, because if you're in a reactionary mode now, you'll be in a reactionary mode then. And then you're gonna and like I know this sounds crazy, but like a lot of people actually say this is like maybe it'll be easier the second time around. And if you think about it, like you're already married to this person, you probably already have children with them. Like you could just as easily create a vision for your future with this person.
Create a new vision.
Yeah,
But
with this
sometimes it's
person.
hard to let go of the past hurt or the past,
Well,
breakdown.
that's where all the suffering comes from. And I do this every day, and Julie is going to start doing this every day. Is I actually make, and it comes from this great book, which is somewhere on my desk, but I can't find it. It's called The Joy of Genius by Gay Hendricks, and I recommend everybody read it. And one of this ideas, you make an active daily commitment to ending negative thinking. And the way that you end negative thinking is you stop worrying about the past, stop worrying about the future, stop worrying about what other people think about you. And so what you just said is that you bring all this baggage from the past, but then you have to realize like that's past stuff. And so if I'm able to let that go, so then I'm not going to live in that place of suffering. Are you stunned by that?
I agree with that. I think it's a tall order, to be honest.
Well, no one said it was easy.
Right. It's
That's,
not easy, but I think that sometimes it's more feasible to think about it as like, what's one small thing I can change and really commit to that, whatever that small piece is. Because we do need the vision. We do need to feel like we want something really great at the end of that year. But maybe for the first month, versus having something that like I'm gonna do for the first couple weeks, like obviously like the lose weight resolution, which everyone had, or not everyone, a lot of people have. It's like, why do so many people stop going to the gym in February and March? It's because it's like you're not really gonna stick to it. Maybe you would stick to it if you just made a goal, like a very doable goal for the first 2 months, for the first 6 to 8 weeks, and then you can build on that and snowball out of that.
yeah,
What do you think about that?
no, it's good. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So give us like the big vision and give us a couple like tactical steps.
I mean, the truth is, I think that we've so developed, like over this past year, I think that we've exploded. Our like, if you just think about like where we were, like it's crazy, like how far we've gone. Yeah, I'm super excited. I really want to be like working with you very closely in growing our business. I think in kind of bringing both of our strengths to the company, I think is like super key. I want to support you in your growth, and be like not someone that's just always growing, but I want to see like how I can help you grow. I feel like super positive about the future.
I'm
So
very excited about
that's
our
kind of
future.
yeah, that's my goal and my
And
thoughts.
but I also think like it's for us, like we're in this growth mode, like business wise, so that makes it, we do spend a lot of time
And
together.
fitness wise, we're trying to
Oh
lose some
yeah,
weight.
we're working out every morning
Yeah,
together.
we do.
But I'm saying actually that's like a great point too, because I would say that finding a space that you can, I mean, we're kind of like killing two birds with one stone on that, because
The fitness and the business.
yeah, but I'm saying specifically the fitness piece, it's like we both want to be working out every day, but the fact that we can do that together, it's like a huge bonus. And then, on the weekend when we go take a walk together, it's an amazing, time, because we both want to be active, but then at the same time we get some quality time at the same time. So you could always do that, because sometimes we're just so busy, but finding a way, like if you have to make dinner, can you make it,
Together.
can you make dinner together?
Right.
Or if you have to go drive and do an errand, but can you, like we were at Home Depot a couple nights
after
ago.
we drove around the entire city trying to
After we
save.
drove around the city, like trying to save a couple dollars.
Anyway,
You're never, you could take the girl out of,
whatever.
I'm so bad at these things.
All right.
Take the girl out of the 99-cent
Cent
store, but you
can't
can't.
take the 99 cents for the girl. And then turns out the box at Home Depot were cheaper. Good times. All right. I
That's
think that was
fine.
very
It's
productive.
okay.
And it was fun. We had a nice date.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. Can we end this? Is that okay? I'm super tired.
Well, folks, I guess that's honesty
and
for you.
that's
Okay.
like the Jacob Rupp. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate it. Hope this
If
was
you
valuable.
guys
Oh, yeah.
if you guys are interested and want specific help with your own relationships, please reach out to us. We would love to be part of your journey. So we're working on programming, we're working on a course at the moment that's coming out early next year, so please connect with us and
We can do a
let us
retreat in
know.
Arizona too once that happens.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you
Okay,
so
good
much.
night,
Thank you.
everyone.